So I made a video on this YouTuber before. It seems they got banned, came back from the dead as they put on their little dumbass thing there, but let's get to the point. The first time I made the video was because, one, he was spreading false information, objectively just being wrong in almost every single debate he did, and two, he was telling people to, well, off themselves. So, just being a dick and an idiot simultaneously. Well, he's back, so let's see if he's improved at all. The first edit was thermonuclear Godzilla vs. Godzilla Earth. He claims Godzilla, the thermonuclear version of Legendary Godzilla, basically murders Godzilla Earth, and there's not even a contest. Yeah, that's not correct, and there's a few reasons why it's not. First of all, atomic breath strength. Let's just compare the two real quick. With just on-screen feats, the strongest atomic breath we've ever seen for Legendary Godzilla was when he was in base. He was able to blast a hole into the hollow Earth. Obviously, he's much stronger currently and would have been much stronger in Thermo. We do not know the exact multipliers, but since Thermo is either around or above or slightly below evolved, they should be semi-relative, at least somewhat. The absolute max boost you could get with Thermo is 20, which I personally wouldn't put it even that high. That feat, where he blasts a hole into the hollow Earth, has been calced to around planetary if you're going just on the rocks, but if there's hollow Earth portals there and shit, which there's very little evidence to actually support that other than statements, you could get it up to even small star level. You could get this even higher with some statements saying that atomic breath is the most powerful weapon of nature, which people say that this means that it's stronger than a supernatural black hole. Not a supermassive black hole, which is just... No. There's no evidence to support that it's anywhere near that level. We've never seen it do anything on that level. And it just doesn't make sense. But let's assume that that's somehow correct here. Even then, we know that can't actually be the case, because in his base form, blasting into the hollow Earth, which would have only been planetary to small star, took around 40% of his power. Meaning 100%, meaning enough power to kill his base, would be only double small star, so maybe at the absolute best, just baseline star level. Which is weaker than a casual blast from Godzilla Earth, which can one-shot black holes, which we see happen. Now, some people like to argue that Godzilla Earth didn't actually blow up the black holes, which is a little dumb, as we see him blow up the black hole, but they'll say it either dispersed or something like that happened. First of all, that doesn't make sense, because black holes take forever to disperse. And also, we see the beam hit the black hole, and the black hole's gone. So, okay, but whatever. Let's ignore that for a second. Let's ignore the whole massive difference between just the casual atomic breath between the two, barely planetary to one-shotting black holes. Let's go by physical strength. He gives this to Legendary Godzilla. Legendary Godzilla's best strength feats are actually very impressive, and he could realistically move Godzilla Earth. The problem is, they aren't really that different in weight, but Godzilla Earth is much larger. You could argue, since Legendary's faster, he can just catch up and throw him around. Well, Godzilla Earth also can just tail swipe him from a mile away and be fine. Although Legendary is faster when he's running, Godzilla Earth can hit him from far, far farther away, just due to being so much taller, and so much wider, and so much longer. So, the physical strength, although you could argue Legendary is stronger, he's also getting hit with a tail that's bigger than his whole body. And, in melee combat, his strength isn't all that matters to begin with. Plus, we never really see Godzilla Earth fight other kaiju. But if he could, it's reasonable to assume he'd have pretty substantial physical strength, just judging by the fact he's built almost identical to Legendary Godzilla, and that in the few showings we do have, he is pretty impressive, mainly against Void Ghidorah. Now, when he goes to experience, I will give Legendary experience. He is older than Godzilla Earth, and probably has fought more kaiju than Godzilla Earth. That said, Godzilla Earth still has a fair amount of experience. He actually has about as much as Godzilla's Heisei, Godzilla, and Showa, as he has wiped out tons of monsters in his lifetime, and is extremely old for Godzilla, other than Legendary, obviously, or Singular Point. When he goes to abilities is when he gets really stupid, because I'm pretty sure, I'll rewatch the video later, but I'm pretty sure he gave it to Legendary Godzilla. Yeah, that's just false. Legendary Godzilla has atomic breath, he has a shitty nuclear pulse at this point that he can't even utilize. He can utilize in Thermo, okay, but he only gets 3 shots, and he's drained. We don't even know if his thermo mode has an amped atomic breath, like a red spiral ray situation, so realistically you could only really argue his normal atomic breath for thermo, just slightly stronger due to the overflowing radiation. And then that's about it for combat abilities. Like, yeah, he has like a blast that you can shoot out of his dorsal plates, but that's essentially just a pulse, and it also shatters his plates, so that doesn't really count. But let's go over what Earth has. Godzilla Earth has the ability to just straight up roar you out of existence with a pressurized air blast. He has his own atomic breath. He has an amped version of it when he enters Scarlet mode, plus he has the Scarlet mode. He has a force field. He could send blast out of his tail. It's hinted at that he may have his own atomic pulse. And overall, he just has more combat abilities than Legendary Godzilla ever thought of. So, abilities would go to Godzilla Earth. Sorry to break it to you there. Now, let's go over durability. The legendary version of Godzilla actually has worse showings of durability. Yes, he survived a meteor point blank, but Godzilla Earth was able to just nuke the meteor out of existence. Granted, his meteor was a little bit littler, but, I mean, if his atomic breath can blow it up, it's pretty reasonable to assume he could tank his own atomic breath as it literally comes out of his body. We also know for a fact that basically no weapons work on Godzilla Earth. We see it in the anime trilogy. Legendary Godzilla is very much in the same way, only the humanity the Legendary Godzillas went up against is obviously a little less advanced than the ones with laser weapons and shit. But the big thing is that Godzilla Earth was able to actually survive some attacks from Void Ghidorah, who would upscale the Monsterverse to an unbelievable amount. Although he would have died if Ghidorah wasn't nerfed, he still did technically survive attacks from him. And even when Ghidorah gets nerfed, it's not like he's just completely powerless. He's still a beast in combat. He's just massively weaker than he would realistically be. However, you can still easily get this Ghidorah to well above planetary and even into the galaxy levels of power when nerfed. And Godzilla Earth was able to fight him. I would love to see anybody argue Monsterverse Godzilla beating Void Ghidorah. I do not see that happening. Let's also go over their showings against their Ghidorahs. Godzilla Earth would have lost to a non-nerfed Ghidorah, but that Ghidorah is much stronger than the Monsterverse Ghidorah. That's fairly obvious. Meanwhile, Monsterverse Godzilla, although he beat Ghidorah in the past, he did have help. He did not do it alone, like a lot of people like to act like he did. He either had Mothra with him, or he had Mothra and Rodan, depending on what source you're using. But he had Kaiju with him to help out. In his fight in Antarctica, he gets he misses an atomic breath and gets pushed to a hole. That's woo. He did so great. He almost beats Ghidorah off the coast of Mexico, but I mean, the only reason he almost beat Ghidorah is A, he jumps out of the fucking water and grabs him when Ghidorah's not even expecting him. 2, Ghidorah just got done humiliating Rodan. And 3, they're in the water. Yeah, who's going to win in the water, the aquatic monster or the space dragon? Yeah, I wonder. So yeah, that you can't really use that for assuming he could just beat Ghidorah all the time. I mean, if Ghidorah fought Godzilla in the sky, who do you think's winning? Probably the one that could fly. Now we go to their first fight in Boston. Amped Godzilla is doing pretty well against Ghidorah for a little bit, and then Ghidorah gets his own amp to get him on equal grounds, and Ghidorah just bodies him. He just beats his ass, like, really bad. He's even beaten him and Mothra at the same time. In fact, he kills Mothra, and would have killed Godzilla. This is an amped Monsterverse Godzilla losing to a weaker Ghidorah than the Ghidorah that Godzilla Earth was able to beat once that Ghidorah took a little bit of a nerf. That should be a pretty clear showing of who's stronger, but let's get this even stupider. Legendary Godzilla needed 2 amps in order to beat Ghidorah. Ghidorah had a single amp that was arguably weaker than the amp that Godzilla himself got the first time. As a city's power grid is not much, I don't know if that really compares to a modern day nuclear bomb. Whereas Godzilla Earth was able to beat a slightly nerfed, much stronger Ghidorah. Well, it's not slightly nerfed, it's basically just a Ghidorah. He was able to beat him once he was able to hit him. Yes, Ghidorah's higher dimensional. You could honestly get Earth Godzilla to higher dimensional too, but I usually don't do that. But that is also a thing, and if you do scale him like that, I hate to break it to everybody that thinks Monsterverse Godzilla beats Heisei Godzilla, Monsterverse Godzilla has absolutely nothing to back up him being anywhere near higher dimensional. So there's that too. But what really makes this whole matchup just really dumb is that how would Monsterverse Godzilla even kill Earth Godzilla? Yes, he could beat him physically, but he's also getting hit by Godzilla Earth, who's by no means a pushover. Godzilla Earth can block Legendary Godzilla's beams with a force field, or just straight up just block it with his much larger body, / tail, arms, whatever. He has better ways of blocking and can take more damage just due to him being larger. So it's going to require more blast to actually just kill him. Both have slight regeneration, so they can't really rely on landing a single fatal hit, as it's possible either of them could actually regenerate from that. A standard atomic breath from Godzilla Earth is not only a longer ranged attack, but if it hits Legendary Godzilla, it's going to do a lot more damage, as his standard atomic breath is stronger. Thermo's pulses, he only gets 3, and once he's out of those 3, he's kind of weakened. He's not in great shape after that, he's exhausted. And all Godzilla Earth has to do is survive those 3 pulses, and he has the feats back up surviving those, even if he is damaged. And if Godzilla Earth manages to enter Scarlet form, well, even Thermo isn't saving Legendary from that, as Scarlet Godzilla Earth is arguably just way stronger than even Thermo at its peak. So, yeah, no, Godzilla Earth would win this fight. Just due to being stronger and having much better scaling doesn't over-rely on statements. But let's move to the next one. Yeah, do you see what I see? Yeah, Evolved Godzilla versus Heisei Godzilla. A fight I had hoped people had finally gone to their senses about, but after a couple videos by a couple people that don't understand what power scaling is, it seems the fandom is still very split on this, despite the answer being so unbelievably obvious. It's insane that this is even a debate. But yes, he put the newest Monsterverse Godzilla against Heisei Godzilla, not even Burning Godzilla, mind you. Just normal Heisei Godzilla. And he has Monsterverse win every single category, which is pretty funny when you realize that that is incredibly just false. Start off with speed. Monsterverse Godzilla is faster when he's running. He could run faster. Yes, that's impressive. He can run at near 600 miles per hour. That's really good speed, yeah. Has he ever dodged a light speed attack? You can say, well, he's probably dodged gravity beams. We don't really see him do that. We know Ghidorah can, but, I mean, is Godzilla as fast as Ghidorah? Does he react as fast? He doesn't seem to. There's actually showings where Ghidorah reacts faster than him, and that's how he ends up beating Godzilla in short attacks. The atomic breath dodge in Antarctica is the biggest showing of this. Godzilla shoots an atomic breath, Ghidorah ends up pretty easily dodging, and then shooting Godzilla, who does not dodge. That should tell you who has better reaction speed there. And even then, a light speed attack in the Monsterverse, which is where they pretty much cap, unless you're counting some other dumb shit. But that's usually where speed caps in the Monsterverse for attacks, not even travel speed or attack speed. Meanwhile, Heisei Godzilla is not only shown dodging and weaving around attacks that are light speed, Mecha Godzilla being the main showing of this. Although a lot of people argue, well, he doesn't look like he's moving that fast. It's a guy in a fucking suit. You try dodging shit in a suit. Tell me how good you look while you're doing it. Just think about that for a second. But, he also dodges Space Godzilla's crystals. A lot of people are like, well, they're nerfed by the atmosphere. Well, you can't be nerfed by the atmosphere. The guy controlling you controls gravity. Saying it's nerfed by the atmosphere is kind of stupid when you realize Space Godzilla can make them unnerfed whenever he wanted. And I highly doubt he's shooting these at less speed in order to hit Heisei Godzilla. But a big thing I see for this in particular, say the crystals are going slow, is that, well, they look like they're going slow. Are you going to send a big-ass crystal fucking prop flying across the set to a guy in a costume with no way of really moving in time to dodge it? Would you do that? Does that seem legal? No? Huh? Odd, isn't it? It's almost like they couldn't have it moving at super high speeds because it's a sharp fucking crystal flying at somebody. But let's keep going with this. As I've already explained in base, Godzilla's best showing of power is when he was able to blast hole into the hollow earth with a standard atomic breath. The evolved form holds 20 times more power, so a 100% blast would be around 40 times planetary, roughly Earth planetary to a little higher, depending on who you're scaling and who's doing the scaling. For reference, Batra was able to do basically the same fucking thing to a meteor with a casual shot, not even a 40%, a casual shot of his attacks where he's able to do this. Godzilla's atomic breath when he fights Batra is stronger than that. Godzilla then survives a blast 10,000 times stronger than that from Super X2. Since his durability and attack potency can actually scale post that movie, and his durability is actually a lot higher, even a full power atomic breath that would end up taking the full strength of legendary Godzilla in his evolved form wouldn't even scratch Heisei. Now, I know what some people are thinking to counter this. One, the biggest thing, actually, no, there's one thing that people are thinking, really, not just multiple. There's one thing that people are going to bring up, and that's Biollante stabbing him. Well, let me explain why that's the dumbest argument on Earth. See, Biollante isn't a normal plant. Yes, she has rose DNA and a little bit of human DNA, but she's not a plant or like human durability or rose durability, because she also has, Godzilla DNA. The stuff Godzilla's made of. I wonder if something that's strong enough to take Godzilla's atomic breath 10,000 times over could hurt Godzilla while he's weakened by stuff that's draining his radiation within that same movie. The same way that when Godzilla 2014 was weakened, male Muto was able to stab into him and actually make him bleed. It's almost like when Godzilla's low on radiation, he becomes weaker. So he takes damage from things that he wouldn't normally take damage from, like, a plant or a male Muto. So saying that since Biollante could hurt Heisei, so could Legendary, that's the same logic of me saying since male Muto can hurt Legendary, so could Heisei. So, yeah, okay, use that argument if you want. Just completely ignore the fact that she's part Godzilla, and Godzilla was heavily weakened at that point in the movie. And also, strength feats durability feats like taking 10,000 times his own beam to the face, and this is confirmed in guidebooks and in the film itself. But even ignoring that, we've seen this Godzilla take the same amount of attacks that Legendary takes, beams, and do much better. For reference, the only time Legendary's taken a beam attack and not even been shown to be have any damage on him at all was one time against Ghidorah when in thermo state. Heisei takes beams from kaiju like Space Godzilla and pretty much, he's damaged, but he's still moving, he's still walking. He takes beams from Destroya, who is over 500 times stronger than Space Godzilla at that point. This is backed up because guidebooks. Essentially, after Godzilla vs. Destroya, after Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, Godzilla Jr. becomes as strong as Godzilla was at the end of that movie, or at least as strong as he was at the beginning of that movie. It doesn't matter. Either way, he's around or comparable to Space Godzilla. He's either a lot weaker or a lot stronger. He's one of the two. So, baseline, he's semi-comparable to Space Godzilla at some point. Destroya, who's comparable to him in his Argent form, ends up absorbing some of his DNA into his perfect state, which is 500 times more powerful than his Argent form. So he's arguably over 500 times stronger than Space Godzilla, so his beams should scale to that, and Heisei Godzilla doesn't even react to those burning. But let's ignore that. We can even look at how they react to military weapons. When shot in the gills, Legendary was shown at least having a little bit of pain from it. Despite him, taking nukes to the face and just chugging them off. But when shot in the gills, though, he's just like, ugh. He's all screaming and shit. He's all pissed off. Meanwhile, there's even another part in Godzilla vs. Kong when they shoot him in the back with missiles while he's charging up atomic breath, and it literally knocks the beam right out of him. Meanwhile, pretty much every weapon they shoot Heisei Godzilla with, he doesn't even react to unless it's a fucking mech, like Mecha Godzilla or Mogura. Well, we know Legendary Godzilla takes damage from mechs, because while he was weakened, Mecha Godzilla was bodying his ass like a fucking ragdoll. He was throwing him through buildings. He beat him in a beam clash, which is wild to think about. Meanwhile, Heisei Godzilla, when at full strength, is at least not dying to Mecha Godzilla easily. So to make this as clear as possible, when it comes to travel speed, yeah, Legendary Godzilla has him beat. When it comes to battle IQ, you could argue Legendary Godzilla is a better fighter. In experience, yeah, Legendary Godzilla is much older. But when you go to durability, power, and reaction speed, Heisei Godzilla is insane. He's able to overcome fourth-dimensional attacks from Space Godzilla. That right there upscales the entire Monsterverse. He's able to beat Destroya, who would, as a baseline, upscale the entire Monsterverse. His Ghidorah is comparable to Showa Ghidorah, is actually stated to be stronger in several guides, who could surface wipe with so much energy that it's essentially a planet bust. You know, the thing that Legendary Godzilla is barely capable of at base. We also can go to shit like Zone Fighter, which scales to him as his verse is considered stronger than the Showa verse. Zone Fighter is scalable to that. Zone Fighter, the character, is over 100 times universal by the end of his series. 100 times 40 universal by the end of his series. Heisei is directly stated to be stronger than that, and that right there would massively upscale the entire Monsterverse. Still don't believe me? Well, we see Heisei Godzilla break a tectonic plate. Yeah, you could argue this is by a fault, but still, even with it being by a fault, that's more impressive than anything Muta Prime did, and there's direct statements that Muta Prime would have been incapable of breaking a tectonic plate, even on a fault. So, as Monsterverse Godzilla his only real strength, massive level strength feats would come from scaling higher than her, Heisei Godzilla was shown to be stronger than him. At least strength feat wise, as his physical strength feats are more impressive due to that feat alone. That's ignoring the fact that he literally gets hundreds of times stronger, and when he gets stronger, it translates to his durability, speed, power, etc. Not just one category like energy capacity, like evolved. This only gets more one-sided from here on out, because when it goes to endurance, it's not even a contest. Legendary Godzilla, although he can definitely take a hit and be fine, he's shown getting tired very quickly and having to recharge for very extended periods of time. This is shown with the Oxygen Destroyer, Mutos, even some shit in the comics. He could fight when he's weakened, but I mean, when he's weakened, he almost lost to Tiamat. Meanwhile, Heisei Godzilla was able to fight Biollante after taking tons of damage, being hit with all sorts of shit, and having bacteria that were rapidly draining his energy. And taking tons of damage from Biollante, he was still able to kill her, and right after the bacteria wore off, he was fine. Like, he didn't have to sleep for like a decade or some crazy shit like Monsterverse has to. He was just fine. In fact, in the Heisei era, we usually don't see monsters get tired unless there's certain things going on, like their energy's getting drained. Burning Godzilla never shown getting tired until Destroyer started draining his power. Godzilla Jr. is the same way. He didn't show any signs of being tired or weakened until Destroyer ended up draining his power and DNA. Same as we said for Space Godzilla. He wasn't shown being weakened until Godzilla started weakening him by blowing up crystals and biting into him, draining his energy, which, yeah, that is something he can do. Heisei Godzilla can bite Legendary and just start draining his power, which is far more effective on Legendary than it is on him. We also see him drain tons of Space Godzilla's energy when he blows up Shoulder Crystal, meaning that he can absorb energy from something who would be a higher dimensionality than him. Which is why he would beat someone like Godzilla Earth. Because he could just transcend a fucking dimension if he wants to. And in short, having Legendary Godzilla versus Heisei Godzilla is having a Godzilla whose best feats include stuff from statements saying he can compare to a supermassive black hole, which has very little evidence to support it, cannot break a tectonic plate, at least not at the time that the statement for him not being able to break it was put out, which would have been right before Godzilla vs. Kong, is shown getting tired far quicker than the other, and his atomic breath's best ever shown feat of power would be only planetary to small star, versus a Godzilla that can one-shot planet busters, break tectonic plates like they're nothing, survive his own attacks 10 times over, well, 10,000 times over, actually, pretty much destroy double-team monsters that scale almost to base Monsterverse Godzilla, can dodge damn near infinite speed crystals, according to the guidebooks, can fight Space Godzilla, who was higher dimensional, 4D to 5D normally. However, you can wank this all the way up to damn near 11D if you want to be crazy with it. Can fire this Space Godzilla, not Heisei Godzilla. Space Godzilla's beams are pretty much confirmed stronger than Ghidorah's, who can surface wipe and even just blow up planets. We also know Space Godzilla was born inside a supermassive black hole and therefore should scale to its destructive power. And Heisei Godzilla is stronger than him by the end of that movie, not even counting burning. That's also ignoring the fact that this Godzilla, once he hit burning, was stronger than someone 500 times stronger than Space Godzilla. And a big feat for Space Godzilla people seem to forget about is the fact he can light up the entire universe. Which, the Heisei universe is 4D and infinite size, that's infinite 4D power, which should make the winner of this fight incredibly obvious. Oh yeah, and he also did a edit of him versus another editor and had him win every category. So I guess you could add narcissist into the idiot and dick category as well. But I'm not done yet because there's still some more shit I need to talk about. You see, last time when he got banned from YouTube, he was telling people to kill, like, off themselves. That is what he was telling people to do. On top of this, I've seen him in his own comic sections cussing people out, deleting comments, my comments included. Also, if you're listening to this, MVdestroysheiseieditz, why don't you reply to me? Seriously, I reply. I'm on your stuff. I comment. I call you off your bullshit, and you had to delete my comment. You 95% sure you reported me at least once, or you dislike, or just do not ever respond. You just leave it there. It's odd, as you seem to reply to everyone else. It's almost like you don't want to get in debate with someone who actually knows what the fuck power scaling is. But let's ignore all that and just talk about what he does on a normal basis. He's the type of person to post one video, go quiet for a while, post another. Every video he posts is either just objectively false or just there to be stupid. It's pretty obvious. You know who's going to win the second he posts the video, because he'll put shit like, for manga Heisei Godzilla, he put him as manga Shitsei. Wow, I wonder who's going to win between the character with the name actually put out there right and the character whose name is just being insulted by a child who's editing a video like a fucking idiot. I've seen this person legitimately have a mental breakdown in his own comments. When someone starts talking and they start replying, you can't even tell what they've been replying with because he deletes them like a fucking crybaby. And then you'll see his responses. He'll like go, and he'll type all this stupid shit in his comments. Like he'll legitimately type out him freaking out over a fucking comment. Like he will type in these large ass, what I can best describe as like a comic book panel when a character is screaming. That's what it looks like him typing. So he's gonna whine like a baby, leave his replies. He also hearts all of his own replies, by the way, which is fucking hilarious to me. Like, seriously? He does all this stupid shit. He gets banned, finally, after telling how many, like, 25 people themselves. Amazing. Just amazing job, YouTube. You will get me kicked from putting a comment because I called a guy a prick in a video after he's calling an entire comment section a nerd because he's a crybaby idiot, a spammer. But this guy can tell people to off themselves, and you take, how long to get this guy banned? Like, over 20 videos, and you let him come back with the same name. Great job, by the way, guys. This guy gets away with telling people to harm themselves in very explicit ways, like, jumping off cliffs. He'll get away with that. He'll be able to come back with the same name. He'll continue to cyberbully people over Godzilla of all things, because he's that obsessed with Legendary Godzilla beating everything that he will legit try to tell people to end their own existence for it. Because he is a child, or a man-child, one of the two, it doesn't really matter. He's someone who shouldn't be on the internet. I told him this once in my previous video that I don't even know if this idiot saw, but I'll say it again. Get off YouTube, or I'm going to get you off YouTube. Those are the only two ways this goes down.